Hello students, my name is Mr. Harshal Neskar and we are studying the subject of basic human rights. In the last lecture we have studied the French Revolution and American Bill of Rights and their effect on Indian Constitution, and with that lecture we have completed the syllabus for first lecture, and from this lecture we will start the second chapter of fundamental rights and economic science, in which the content for this lecture we are going to cover is the society, culture, and their interrelationships. All right. So we'll start the lecture with the society. So what is society is the basic question, and we'll cover this as the definition as the society is a system of social relationships among groups of humans or animals. So it is basically the system of grouping of the humans or animals with their social relationships, or it can be a structured community of people bound together by similar traditions, institutions, or nationality. All right. The societies consist of members that share some sense of common identity, and that common identity will be small, like a family, or it can be a large, like a nation or a state. So, as per the definition, the society is nothing but a structured community of a structured community system. All right, in which the people with some common identity are bound together to form a society. All right, and that society, it can be a very small as a family. All right, or it can be a large like a nation or state. So that is the definition of society. The key characteristics on which the societies are differentiated, we will study now. The particular characteristics on which societies can be differentiated as the beliefs, ideas, values, history, life experiences, and social environment. So the meaning, as per the definition, we have studied that uh, it is a system or a group of people, all right, we who shares the common identity, and that those identities can be a belief in something, or ideas about something, our values or our rules, our history shared, all right, the life experiences, and the social environment. That particular These particular characteristics differentiate the number of societies. Moving further, the societies need some rules, standards, and laws to function smoothly. The societies are just a structure, but they need some kind of values, morals, ideas, standards, or laws to function smoothly. The members of these societies learn about the rules of their society through the process of socialization. So we are particularly studying the concept of society, and there are social platforms nowadays like Facebook and WhatsApp, and from that particular Facebook and WhatsApp we can share our beliefs, our ideas, our values, our history, and from that platform we can learn about our society, and after learning learning that values and rules of that society, we can choose in which we want to be involved. All right, and our fundamental rights in our Indian Constitution gives the right to select the freedom select the religion that we want to get involved. All right, so fundamental rights came from the concept of society only. All right, so moving further, the person accepts a particular society. It happens when he thinks that that the rules of that societies are normal. So there can be some person who happens to think that some rules are normal, but those rules cannot be normal for some other people. All right, so they will share a different societies. All right, so we move further to the types of societies. So there are basically six types of societies, each defined by its level of technology. So the first type of society is the hunting and gathering societies, also called as the foraging society. The members of hunting and gathering societies primarily survive by hunting animals, fishing, and gathering plants. The vast majority of these societies existed in the past, with only a few of them are living today on the verge of extinction. The hunting and gathering societies, which were typically small, were quite mobile. In some cases, where resources in a local were extraordinarily plentiful, their small villages were formed. But most hunting and gathering societies were nomadic. That means they were moving constantly in a search of food and water. So the first type of society was the hunting and gathering society. All right, so they were constantly moving for in the search of food and water. All right, the second type of society is the pastoral society. All right, the pastoral means the to graze. All right, so we will study about this. The members of pastoral societies were first emerged 12,000 years ago, and they pastured, that means they grazed animals for food and transportation. All right, so domesticating animals allows for a more manageable food supply than do hunting and gathering. Hence, the pastoral societies are able to produce a surplus of goods, which makes them storing food for future. And the storing food for future enables them to settle at a single place for a very long time. So the pastoral societies still exist today, primarily in the desert lands of North Africa, where horticulture and manufacturing arts are still not possible. Right, so that was the second type of society. We'll move further to the third type, that is the horticultural society. Unlike the pastoral society, the horticulture societies mainly rely on cultivating fruits, vegetables, and plants. In pastoral societies, they were mainly depending upon the pasturing animals for food and transportation. But in horticulture societies, they cultivate fruits, vegetables, and plants. So these societies first appeared in different parts of the planet about the same time as the pastoral societies. That is before that is 12,000 years ago. All right. So like hunting and gathering societies, horticultural societies had to be mobile. So depletion of land's resources or depleting their water supplies forced the people to leave their land. All right. So horticulture societies cultivated the plants and vegetables, but after that land's resources were depleted, they had to move to the next location where they can find the good resources of water and land. So we move to the next part, that is agricultural societies. So agricultural societies used the technological advances to cultivate crops, especially grains like wheat, rice, corn, and barley over a large area. The horticulture, that is the difference between the horticulture and agriculture. Horticulture, they were not able to plant the large area of crops. In agriculture societies, they planted the large area of crops. All right. The sociologists use the phrase agricultural revolution to refer to the technological changes that occurred as long as 8,500 years ago that led to the cultivating crops and raising farm animals. Increasing in food supplies then led to a larger population than in earlier communities. This means uh, greater surplus food, which resulted in towns that became centers of trade, supporting various rulers, educators, craftspeople, merchants, and religious leaders who did not have to worry about locating the nourishment. So, the agriculture society that gave the freedom to the people who didn't want to be involved in agriculture. All right. So at that time, the professions like the educators, craft people, merchants that were emerged in that time. All right. We'll move to the next type of society, that is industrial society. So the name itself suggests the type of society. The industrial societies are based on using machines, particularly fuel driven machines, all right, to produce goods. The sociologists refer to the period during the 18th century when the production of goods in merchandised factories begin as the industrial revolution. So industrial societies formed when the industrial revolution became the part of our history. The Industrial Revolution appeared first in Great Britain and then quickly spread to the rest of the world. As productivity increased, means of transportation improved to better facilitate the transfer of products from one place to other place. Great wealth was attained by the few who owned factories, and the masses of people found jobs working in the factories. As factories became the center of work, home cottages as the usual workplace became less prevalent, as did the family's role in providing vocational training and education. Public education via schools and eventually the mass media became the normal procedure. Alright. People's life expectancy also increased at that time because their was also increased. Political institutions changed into modern models of governance. So the governance also uh, improved at that industrial revolution. The cultural diversity increased as the social mobility. Then the large cities were emerged as places to find jobs in factories. So wherever the factories get emerged, the large cities were also emerged. All right, because the people moved to that location to get the jobs. Then the social power moved into the hands of business elites and governmental officials, leading to struggle between the industrialists and workers. So there was also a negative point about the industrial revolutions, because when the industrial revolution began and the factories were get set up, the rich people who were the owners of these bigger factories, all right, and the workers, those who worked in those that factories, there there were uh, eruptions of the battles between the industrialists and workers, and the result was the labor unions and welfare organizations were formed in response to these disputes. Then the rapid changes in industrial technology also continued in the same history, and especially the production of larger machines and faster means of transportation. So that was the part of our history when the industrial societies were formed. All right, so we'll move to the last society, that is the post-industrial society, that was formed after the industrial society or industrial revolution. So the socialists note that the advent of computer microchip, that is the invention of computer microchip, the world is witnessing a technological revolution. So after the invention of computer microchip, the world witnessed a revolution in industrial technology. The revolution is creating a post-industrial society based on information, knowledge, and the selling of services. So, as the new invention in technology becomes a regular part, our post-industrial society is getting shaped up. All right. So that is, rather than being driven by the factory production of goods, society is being shaped by the human mind, aided by computer technology. Although factories will always exist, the key to wealth and power seems to lie in the hands of in the ability to generate, store, manipulate, and sell information. Sociologists speculate about the characteristics of post-industrial society in the near future, and they predict increased levels of education and training, then consumerization, availability of goods, and social mobility. So these were the types of society. As our history of planet progressed, there we found the number of societies as we progressed in the history. So that first part was the foraging society, in which the humans were hunting and gathering the plants or animals. Then there comes the pastoral society, who traded the animals. All right. Then the horticulture societies got taken place. They horticulture, or they cultivated the crops and animals. Then there was the agriculture revolution, in which people started to grow the plants like rice in a large area of planet. All right. Then there came the industrial revolution, which started the industrial society, in which the factories got set up and people get the got the jobs. All right. And after the invention of computer microchip, the technology started to get advanced, and then after that we are now in the post industrial society. Okay. So that was it for the types of society. We will move to the definition of culture. So we have studied what is society. Now we will study what is culture. So the culture is a set of values, norms, and behaviors shared by a social group. All right. So the culture is a basically set of those values and ideas that a society holds above all others. So we studied about the society, that society is a structure, and it needed some rules or values, and those values and rules were provided by the culture only. All right. So the culture varies across and within societies, and what is important and seemingly as normal in one culture, maybe it may not be normal as that normal in another culture. So as deceived in the picture, so one person, he can think like the cricket, that is the insects, they can be eaten, and they can be a very delicious thali. All right. But the other person, he may not think that it will be delicious as that. All right. So the cultural values, they can be a different thing for different people, and particularly those particular those different values can differentiate the societies. All right. Moving further, the dominant values or norms can change within the cultures over time. That means the over the time period, the cultures can be get updated. All right. Moving further, The cultures, all cultures are made up of same basic five components. That is, first one is the norms, then technology, symbols, language, and values. So we will study one by one. So the norms are shared rules of conduct that tell people how to act in a specific situations. Groups use norms or rules to enforce cultural values. Norms are expectations for behavior, not actual behavior. All right. So there are basically two types of norms. One is folkways and other is mores. So as we have seen, the norms means the values, all right, that can tell the people how to behave or and how not to behave. So there are basically two types in the norms. That is, first one is the folkways and other one is the mores. The folkways are the norms that describe socially acceptable behavior but do not have moral significance. All right, the folkways means the behavior that is socially acceptable, but it does not have moral significance. For example, the burping loudly after eating dinner at someone else's home. Suppose you are at someone else's home and you are having a dinner, and after having dinner, you burped loudly. So it is socially acceptable, but it is not morally correct. All right, because it doesn't have moral significance. So that is a folkway norm. All right, so the next type of norm is Morse, and the Morse norm that have a moral significance. So its name itself suggests the its definition that folkways have doesn't have the moral significance, and Morse have the moral significance. All right, the certain behaviors like wearing shorts while going to a temple. All right, so that is the more norms. All right, so wearing shorts while going to a temple, it does not go against the law, but it is offensive to most of the people of that particular culture. So that is why some serious mores are formalized as the law. So uh, while going to a temple, you are wearing a short. It is not against the law, but it will affect the feelings of that particular culture. All right. So that is the first basic component of culture. Then we will move to the technology. The technology is the knowledge and tool that people use for their practical work. All right, and the technological applications can be different to the different cultures. So different cultures can adopt the different types of technologies. Then the symbols are anything that stands for something and has a shared meaning to it. All right, so every culture has some symbols, and all the symbols have the shared significance. All right, and all the cultures use some definitive symbols to represent their beliefs in their culture. Then there is the language. The language in an organization is an organization of written and spoken symbols into a standardized system. The language differentiates the culture based upon the written and spoken symbols they have used to communicate in their culture. So every culture can have a separate language, and the separate language can have a separate symbols, separate written and spoken symbols. So then the last one is the values. The values are nothing but the shared beliefs among the culture that tells people what is good and what is bad, or what is right or wrong, and what is desirable or what is not desirable. So like some cultures adopt vegetarian values, and some adopt the non-vegetarian culture. All right, so some cultures have the in some culture the vegetarian is a good thing, and non-vegetarian is a bad thing, but some other culture it may not be the same. So we'll move further to the types of culture. So basically we have two types of human culture, and the socialized describe the two interrelated aspects of human culture. As the one first one is the physical objects of the culture, that is called as the material culture, and the ideas associated with these physical objects called as the non-material culture. So we will differentiate those two. The first, that is material culture, it refers to the physical objects, resources and spaces that people use to define their own cultures. So for examples, automobiles, books, buildings, clothing, computers, that these kinds of physical objects that particularly defines their culture. So these particular material culture includes the neighborhoods, cities, schools, churches, synagogues, temples, mosques, offices, factories, plants, tools, means of production, goods and products, stores, and so on. So all of these physical aspects of a culture helps to define its members' behaviors and perceptions. For example, technology is a vital aspect of material culture, and today's modern India and its students nowadays must learn to use computers to survive in the colleges and businesses. All right, so that is the material culture, and the second type is the non-material culture. It is associated with the ideas. All right, so non-material culture refers to the non-physical ideas that people have about their culture. So it includes like beliefs, values, rules, norms, morals, languages, organizations and institutions. So, for instance, the non-material cultural concept of religion consists of set of ideas and beliefs in about God, worship, morals, and ethics. These beliefs then determine how the culture responds to its religious topics, issues, and events. When considering non-material culture, sociologists refer to several processes that a culture uses to shape its members' thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. All right, so that was the types of culture. That is, first one was material culture, and the second one was the non-material culture. Material culture basically consisted of the physical objects that differentiate the people's thoughts. All right, and the second was this non-material culture that consisted the feelings, basically the values of values like beliefs in some non-material things. All right, so we'll move to the relation between the society and culture. So let's understand this particular difference now. All right, so we have studied like society is a structure and culture is the basically rules or laws or values. So for to understand the interrelation between these two, let's understand let's get the example of a smartphone. The society basically is nothing but the structure that provides the organization for the people, and the culture, it can be a thought as the rules to guide the people to live. The society is basically the structure, and culture is the guidance to the way of life. So society includes the key parts called the institutions like education, family, state, or nation. So we can consider them as the hardware parts, as these institutions are basic human needs. So the society here in this example of smartphone is the physical part that you can touch. So in this case, the phone case, it will be a society. All right. And now the culture here becomes the somewhat different. As we have said, the culture is set of rules that guide the way of living for the humans. So we can compare the culture to the software of the phone. So the software are just the collection of codes and instructions that are installed on the phone, and they cannot physically be touched. So we can think of these apps here as the culture. Also, we know that the apps are first being made to what they are capable of now. They are constantly being improved, right? So they are constantly being improved, and often we get the updates for apps so that we can get the new features and the bug fixes. All right. This is similar to the cultures in the society, because the cultures are also learned, transmitted, and reshaped from generation to the generation. So we can think that culture is being constantly updated. And without the apps in your phone, the phone, it would be a only a physical device, and you would be staring at a blank screen. So the apps allow the phone to be very useful, so such that the human ideas from the culture allow the society to work smoothly. So the conclusion from the example is that the society is just the organized groups of people, but the culture is the way of living life. So the society and culture are very different things, but they cannot exist without each other. So that is the interrelation between the society and culture. So the conclusion for this particular lecture is the society and culture, they are very different things, but they cannot exist without each other. So that is for this lecture, and we will stop here and we will meet in the next lecture. In the next lecture we will study about the religion and how it is connected to the society and culture, or how religion is got formed with the beliefs, with the thoughts of beliefs and the societal structure. Right. So we'll stop here, and thank you for listening to the lecture. Thank you.